Okay, where's to start with that one? That game felt quite symbolic, I've got to say, but for probably all of the wrong reasons. You don't need me to tell you everything that went wrong in today's game. The final score, of course, being Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2. This really does feel like we're coming to the end of Unai Emery's tenure, and I hate to say it, but I sincerely hope that's the case. I desperately want him to turn this around. I don't want to be calling for him to be sacked, but I can't see a way that he bounces back from this. From what I've seen so far this season, there's no real justification to keep him on. The performances in the league have been dire. They've been really poor, and we're very fortunate that we've got a player up front such as Aubameyang that's been able to bail us out so many times this season, and we're fortunate to be in the position that we're currently in because of players such as him, because of moments of individual brilliance that have got us so many points in the league so far this season. But that brilliance is starting to run out, and we are slipping further and further down the table, and I'm increasingly frustrated by what I'm seeing from Unai Emery. We've seen Leicester City on Friday night smash Southampton by 9 goals to nil. I can't even envisage Arsenal scoring 3 goals to nil at home at the moment. I can't see us doing that, let alone at home, let alone away. I don't see this Arsenal team putting in such a performance, such a dynamic, exciting performance at home, away. I just don't see that from this Arsenal team. If we go away to Southampton against 10 men, if we go a goal up, I honestly fear that we'll sit back to the point where we end up losing the game 2-1. And credit to Brendan Rodgers and what he's done with that Leicester City side. It shows exactly how you can change a team in such a short space of time. So that's why I don't buy into this idea that we should keep Unai Emery until the end of the season, because we have a better squad than a team like Leicester. We have very talented football players, very creative football players. Certainly one of them isn't getting in the team in a minute, but we've got such an exciting team. And that's the most frustrating part about this, is that this team should not be putting in performances at a level that is so tragic. It is pitiful, the football we're playing. We go 2 goals up today, fortunately through 2 set pieces. Ironically, 2 players that we've criticised so heavily this season, Luiz and Socrates, scored the goals. And then we sit back, we allow pressure, and once again we're dominated by an inferior side. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, I think they were wholeheartedly deserving of their draw today. In fact, they probably should have gone on to win it if Sahara had put that chance a few more inches to the right at the end of the game. But it is exactly what we've seen in the past couple of games. In the past week, we've been dominated by Crystal Palace at home, Vitoria at home, and we got absolutely turned over by Chris Wilder's Sheffield United on Monday night. There's no reason that should be happening with the personnel we've got at this club. We saw Lacazette, Pepe, Aubameyang all starting today's game, and not one of them did anything to influence this match. It's deeply concerning. It really is, because the players, we're wasting their careers effectively, especially someone like Aubameyang that's going to be 31 next year. I mean, we don't have a lot of time with this guy, and we've got to make the most of the time we do have with him, because he's too good to frankly be playing in a team that is playing such abject football. And obviously it's an incredibly tough one, because you get rid of Emery, who do you bring in? It's an entirely different question. It's not obviously that straightforward, but if we persist with Emery, then we're just accepting mediocrity. We're accepting these type of performances, and I can't accept that. I don't want that to happen. We go to the football because we want to enjoy it, and that was honestly one of the worst games I've been to at the Emirates Stadium for so many reasons. That we talk about the toxic atmosphere we had under Arsene Wenger towards the end. Today, it was incredibly toxic, incredibly so. And I guess we've got to get onto it pretty early on. Granit Xhaka, what happened there? Oh my god. I mean, this is a really tough one to talk about, because my instant point of view is that I feel like booing your captain off the pitch, cheering him ironically as soon as his number goes up, I think that's completely disrespectful. Whatever you think of Granit Xhaka, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think that was dealt with in the wrong way. I also think his reaction is not one that you should see from a captain. I think as well, you've got to take into account that he is a human, and he is going to react in a way. If this isn't the first time it's happened with Granit Xhaka, it's happened a number of times that he's been ironically booed off the pitch, and he must. I think he honestly hates being at this club at the minute. You look at his reaction, telling the fans to F off, throwing the armband away, literally throwing it to I can't quite remember who he threw it to, but he threw that away, took his shirt off almost immediately the moment he left the pitch, walked down the tunnel straight away. That's not evidence of a player that I think wants to be at this club, and it's not all on him. That's the thing. It's really not on him. The fans have to take account for what happened, because I think certain supporters that booed him. I know there's obviously they're going to justify it and say what else can we do to make our feelings known. That's fair enough, but booing a player that is club captain, I completely disagree with that. I think that was the entirely wrong thing to do in that situation. But it's a game of opinions, and we're all entitled to different ones. So I don't want to get into too much of a heated argument about that side of things. But I feel for Xhaka because he's not the one that chose to be captain, first of all. And I think that was a poor appointment. He probably wouldn't have been my first decision. As I say, I would have chosen someone like Aubameyang, a constant fixture in the team, someone that is reliable, has brought great morale to this side. If not him, Hector Bellerin. And you would assume that, I think Xhaka probably will be stripped of the captaincy now, and you would assume that someone like Bellerin or Aubameyang will be given the armband. But it's a messy situation, and as I say, it's on Emery for me. It is on Emery because he's the one that constantly selects him. He's the one that made him captain. Whether it was a player's vote or not, it comes down to Emery's decision, and his decision that Xhaka was going to be club captain. And he's constantly picked in his team every single week. One of the biggest problems I've got with Arsenal at the moment is that we shouldn't be picking Xhaka and Guendouzi. You have to pick one of them. Granit Xhaka's performances last season, the better ones, came when he was playing alongside Lucas Torreira. Granit Xhaka is not a defensive midfielder. And this season his performances have been pretty subpar because he's having to play in a role where he acts as a defensive midfielder, has to do that part of the game, which he isn't really that comfortable doing. What he is good at is distributing, dictating play, making those key passes that we need in games to build up, to be progressive. That's that's what he's good at. This season, Guendouzi has taken on that role. He's the one that's driving the team forward. He's the one creating those passes. And it's hard to say, let's drop him when he's playing such good football. But if you're not going to drop him, you have to drop Granit Xhaka and play someone like Lucas Torreira that is better as a defensive midfielder. You can't play Granit Xhaka and justify it just because he's club captain if you're going to get the level of performances we've seen from him so far this season. It's just not on. And if you either don't pick him as captain or don't play him, it's quite simple. And Emery's got that really wrong so far for me this season. Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, this is the first time I've looked at Arsenal so far this season and thought, okay, this is a really, really messy situation. I thought that definitely towards the back end of Arsene Wenger's campaign, and I'm definitely thinking it now. And the last thing I want for Arsenal is to be a club that hopscotches through managers, but I think you've got to accept that this is a process that's going to take a little bit of time, and we've gone with Unai Emery, and evidently it's not working out, and we have to take a gamble on someone else. Otherwise, as I say, the performances are going to keep deteriorating. If you look at his time with PSG, with Sevilla, with Spartak Moscow, repetition, and it's exactly what we're seeing now. Repetition of low-level performances, keeping key men out. And it's interesting with the Ozil situation in particular, he's come out and said that this is a club decision, so it's been backed by Ralston, it's been backed by Edu. I can't get my head around that because we've already played Ozil in games this season. We've played him against Notts Forest. We've played him against Watford in the Premier League. I'm curious as to why he was played in those games if it was a club decision beforehand to omit him from the team, to exile him. And if he's an Arsenal player, if he's an employee of Arsenal and we're paying him £350,000 a week, even if the plan is to move him on, surely we can get him involved in the team somehow whilst he is still currently at the club. Exiling him, I don't think it's the right thing to do, and whether that's partly down to Emery, partly down to the club, it's mental. And I do feel a bit sorry for Emery that he's having to take the flak for a lot of this Ozil thing, and he's having to answer all the questions, because it obviously must be difficult if the people above him are saying that it's the decision that we're gonna remove him from the team. But I mean, that's the only thing I can sympathise with Emery at the moment. Apart from that, I can't get behind him at all. He doesn't have my support, if I'm being honest, because I don't see what he's doing. As I said at the start of the video, I'd love for him to turn it around, but he's not doing that. And I'm looking at the upcoming fixtures. We've got Liverpool away in midweek. I don't see us winning that. Wolves at home. I don't see us winning that. Leicester away. I see us considerably losing that by a hefty margin. I hate to say, but the way we're playing, we will. I don't see us losing. I don't see us winning any games on the road. I don't see us drawing any games on the road. And coming up against such an exciting team like Leicester, who are capable of putting 9 goals past Southampton, they're going to score 3 against us. Of course they are. I was a bit more excited by the team lineup today. I hate to sound so negative, by the way. I wish I could be a bit more positive, but I just don't see it in this Arsenal team in a minute. I thought I was going to see it by the team lineup that Emery played today. We saw Ceballos come in, we saw Tierney come in, we saw Lacazette come in, but it was the same problems again, playing it sideways when we did have possession, and when we did score the goals, sitting back and allowing Palace to have opportunities. I have to say the Chambers foul on Zaha looked so stonewall, and I was very surprised that had to go to VAR. The referee initially booked Zaha for diving. It definitely looked like a stonewall penalty from my point of view, and I can't really have too many complaints about that. I do feel sorry for Chambers. I mean, I still think his best performances have come at centre half, and I'd like to play him there. We know what he can offer at right back. He's going to struggle against players like Zaha, tricky players. But I thought he was a player that gave his all today, tried to make things happen. The same with Kieran Tierney, but yeah, I mean, we know how much of a mess our defence is in. I'm still surprised that we're not seeing Rob Holding in the team. I can't get my head around. The one thing I will say is that Socrates goal at the end. I have no reason to believe that should not have been given. I couldn't quite understand where the foul was on that. Chambers is the one that seems to be the guilty party, but I don't know where the foul is that he's committed. I still can't quite work that out. And even if that goal had gone in, I'd be saying the exact same things I am now, because it would gloss over all the problems we've had. You look at the last 5 goals we've scored, 4 of them have come from set pieces. We're not a creative team. We're not capable of scoring goals from open play, and it's deeply concerning the level of football we're playing. And I'm not enjoying watching Arsenal at the minute. That's the overriding thing. You know, as a season ticket holder, I'm paying a lot of money. I'm paying £1,300 a year to watch this. And on that note, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I can't talk about this much longer. It's deeply, deeply depressing. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments box below. Please do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And as always, I'll speak to you very, very soon. See you later, guys.